Imagine waking up one morning and the headline on the news says, Vladimir Putin signs peace agreement in a friendly meeting with Mahatma Gandhi. Wait, what? Gandhi, Putin? Did these two even live in the same era? How could they possibly sit in the same room and talk about peace? One rules with an iron fist, the other changed the world with empty hands. One's the symbol of power and dominance, the other, the icon of nonviolent resistance. So let's take a mental trip, not just a fantasy, but one full of ideas worth exploring. Let's imagine what would happen if Gandhi and Putin actually sat down for a peace talk. What would they say? What would they hear? And more importantly, who would be the one to change? It's 2025, an old, elegant building in Geneva. Tall windows, cool air, hot tea on the table, no cameras, no journalists. Just two people, Vladimir Putin and Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi's dressed in his usual simple white robe, sandals on his feet, a soft smile on his face. Putin, in a black suit, sitting firmly, that sharp gaze in his eyes. The first silence between them is thick, heavy. Gandhi breaks it with a calm voice. I came here to speak, not to fight. Putin smirks, half amused, half dismissive. He says, I'm always open to dialogue, but from a position of strength. That's where the first conflict begins. Gandhi doesn't believe in that kind of strength, not the one Putin's talking about. Let's rewind for a second. Mahatma Gandhi, leader of India's independence, the man who took down an empire with salt, thread, fasting, and walking. His definition of resistance was something else entirely. He once said, if you want to defeat your enemy, start by conquering his heart. On the other side, Putin, a leader who defines power through armies, oil, intelligence, and geopolitical chess. He's a fighter in his own right, but more of a cold strategist, a Machiavellian realist. Putin doesn't give concessions unless he's getting more in return. But Gandhi, he doesn't take, he lets go. So how could they possibly have a conversation? In the middle of the meeting, Gandhi shares a story. When the British occupied Afghanistan, they thought they'd won. But the longer they stayed, the more they lost. Not because of guns or tanks, but because they never won the people's hearts. Putin gives a slight smile. We don't make those mistakes. We have a plan. Gandhi replies, everyone has a plan until they meet reality. And reality is human, not just military. Putin raises an eyebrow. He's not convinced, but he's listening. Because when Gandhi speaks, something about his voice makes you pause and reflect. Then Gandhi drops this. You can conquer a country, but you can't force a nation to love you. And then silence. That kind of silence that freezes time. Putin says, you're too romantic. The world doesn't work like that. Gandhi smiles. The world stays the same because everyone says it can't change. But when one person dares to say, maybe it can, the world takes a step forward. And right there, the energy in the room shifts. Not because Putin suddenly changes, but a tiny crack appears in the thick wall of his realism. Then Gandhi asks a question. What if, tomorrow, your military stopped working? How would you deal with your enemies? Putin doesn't answer. He goes quiet. Gandhi says, peace means speaking without fear, even if you have no bodyguards. I was beaten in South Africa, but was I afraid? No, because I knew I was right. Putin glances around, almost as if for a second he feels the absence of his bodyguards. So here's the big question. Is Putin truly after peace, or just looking for victory? Gandhi drops another heavy line. War is the continuation of ego. Peace is the continuation of courage. He's not preaching. He's not giving advice. He's holding up a mirror, one Putin can choose to look into or ignore. Gandhi continues. You said you negotiate from strength. But real strength is in forgiveness, in not holding on to anger, in staying in control even when you've lost everything. Putin stays silent, but it's not the silence of dismissal. It's the silence of something stirring deep. And then Gandhi shares something personal. Essay. When I was young, they threw me off a train just because of the color of my skin. That night, I decided I'd spend the rest of my life fighting not with rage, but with belief. Belief in humanity. Putin is staring at him now. Like maybe for the first time someone's speaking to him not as a politician, not as a rival, but as a human being. Gandhi stands up, walks slowly to the window, places his hand on the glass. We live in the 21st century, but we still make decisions with a medieval mindset. He turns around and looks at Putin. How do you want to be remembered in history? As the man who started the last great war, or the man who made the first real peace? Putin says nothing, but is breathing a little deeper now. And this moment, this quiet, thought-filled moment, might be something no world leader has ever experienced. A silence, not of power, but of truth. And Gandhi gently breaks it with this: if you can just once extend your hand in peace without threats or conditions, you become the strongest leader of the century. Putin lets out a chuckle, not mocking surprised. Surprised that someone just offered him something that wasn't a deal, a bargain, or a trap. Maybe just maybe a tiny switch flipped in his mind. Not world peace, no, but maybe a small decision, a single order, one that saves a few lives. This meeting wasn't supposed to bring political results, no signatures, no agreements. But something did happen. A seed was planted. A seed that might grow slowly, but once it does, its roots will go deep. So here's the question. If you were Gandhi in that room, what would you say to melt the heart of the hardest man? And if you were Putin, would you be willing to take just one step toward peace without power, just by listening? This story might be fictional, but imagination is the first step toward any real change. And if the world is ever going to end its wars, maybe it's time we start listening less to generals and more to the old souls. Maybe it's time we speak from the heart instead of through the barrel of a gun. Gandhi and Putin in one room? Impossible? Maybe. But the world always begins with the impossible. And this isn't the end of the story. Maybe it's just the first conversation.